I sat on the couch, remote in hand, flipping through channels like I was actually watching anything. It was just noise, background noise to fill the empty space. Sarah was next to me as usual, but this time it felt different. Her eyes were glued to her phone. Fingers tapping away like the screen was the only thing that mattered. It hadn't always been like this. We'd been together almost 2 years, living together for almost as long, and it was supposed to be easy, right? But something had shifted. The sound of her fingers tapping was starting to get under my skin. I glanced at her phone. Nothing specific, just her posture. The way she was turning the screen away when I caught a glimpse. I didn't want to be that guy, the jealous boyfriend who reads into everything, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Cleared my throat. "Who are you texting?" She didn't look up. "Just Rick," she muttered, swiping again, not bothering to elaborate. Rick. I'd heard that name before, but I didn't remember her talking about him much. "Rick from work?" I asked casually, though the knot in my stomach wasn't going anywhere. "Yeah," she said, almost too quickly. "What? You think I'm hiding something?" I shrugged, trying to stay cool. "No, just curious." She laughed, her voice high-pitched, like she was dismissing something trivial. "Oh my God, Mark, you're so paranoid. It's just Rick. Chill out." She shook her head, barely glancing at me before her eyes were back on the screen. But my gut wasn't buying it. I watched her delete the entire conversation right in front of me, her thumb swiping across the screen with a practiced speed. My heart dropped. "Why did you delete everything?" I couldn't help the frustration in my voice. She finally looked at me, eyes flashing with annoyance. "Because you're acting crazy," she snapped. "I didn't think I had to explain myself to you. If you think it's such a big deal, maybe you should just leave." I stood up, feeling my hands clench into fists. "Fine. If you think it's nothing, then maybe I'll just take you up on that." She stared at me, mouth opening and closing like she was trying to find the right words, but she didn't say anything. "Goodbye, Sarah," I said, the words heavier than I expected. I grabbed my stuff, leaving her there on the couch, her phone screen lighting up again in her lap. I slammed the door behind me, the sound sharp and final. My hands were trembling, but I couldn't stop. I had to get out. I wasn't even sure where I was going, but I just needed to leave. As soon as I hit the parking lot, I heard her footsteps behind me. "Mark, wait." Sarah's voice was loud, desperate, a little frantic. She was right on my heels now, the sound of her heels clicking on the asphalt matching the thumping of my pulse. I kept walking, not bothering to turn around. I didn't know what I'd say if I did. She caught up with me, grabbing my arm. "Don't walk away from me," she hissed. "This is ridiculous. You're acting like this is some huge deal." She yanked at my sleeve, her nails digging into my skin. "You're ruining everything over nothing, Mark." I shook her hand off. "You don't get it, Sarah. It's not about the texts. It's about trust, respect. And you're treating me like I'm crazy for even asking questions." Her face twisted with annoyance. "Oh, please. It's just Rick. You're overreacting because you always do this. And you want to know why I delete things when you act like this? Because this is exactly what happens. You go psycho and accuse me of stuff that isn't even there." Her voice cracked with a mix of anger and something else I couldn't put my finger on. "Guilt?" I turned to her then, my chest tightening, but I couldn't stop it. "You're making me feel like I'm crazy, Sarah. And I'm not. I'm just asking for basic respect, and you can't even give me that." Her eyes burned with fury now, and her words came out sharp. "You're unbelievable. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Fine, whatever, Mark. Do what you want, but don't come crawling back when you realize you're throwing away everything." I didn't say anything after that. I just kept walking, and this time she didn't follow. I didn't know where I was going, but I ended up at Ryan's place. It wasn't far, and honestly, I just needed someone to talk to, someone who wouldn't accuse me of being the problem. When I knocked, Ryan opened the door right away, like he'd been expecting me. He looked at me for a second, eyes scanning my face, probably trying to figure out what was going on. "Everything okay?" he asked, stepping back to let me in. I didn't even answer. I just walked past him into the living room and dropped onto the couch. Jesus, man, Ryan muttered, shaking his head as he closed the door. You look like you just walked through hell. I feel like I did, I said, exhaling hard. She's gone off the deep end, Ree. She's making me feel like I'm the asshole for wanting some honesty. Ryan sat down next to me, the couch creaking under his weight. Do you want a drink? He asked, already reaching for a bottle of whiskey on the coffee table. Yeah, please, I said, too exhausted to argue. I needed something to take the edge off, something to stop the buzz of anger and hurt that was still gnawing at me. He poured us both a shot, sliding one over to me. I didn't bother with a glass. I just downed it, the burn a welcome distraction. You okay to talk about it? Ryan asked, his voice low but steady. I nodded. I had to talk about it. It's like, she doesn't even care, man. I ask her who she's texting, and she blows me off. Then I see her delete everything right in front of me like I'm an idiot for even asking. It's like she's gaslighting me. Ryan took a long pull from his drink. You sure you didn't overreact, though? I looked at him, trying to read his face. I don't think so, man. I don't. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just done. I ran a hand through my hair, the frustration turning into something else. Something heavier. I don't know what to do anymore. Don't block her number, Ryan said, leaning back. At least hear her out. I didn't want to hear her out, but my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out. It was a flood of texts from Sarah. Mostly apologies, mixed with a lot of I'm sorries that felt more like an ultimatum. She said I needed to calm down, that she was waiting for me to come back, like this whole thing was just some fight to get over. I didn't even think twice. I blocked her number. Ryan raised an eyebrow but didn't say anything. He just poured me another shot, and I took it without hesitation. How long do you think this will last? Ryan asked, his voice more serious now. I don't know, I said quietly. But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep feeling like I'm losing my mind over her. Over this. Ryan didn't argue. He just handed me the bottle and I kept drinking. By the time the phone stopped buzzing, I wasn't sure what the next step was. But for the first time that night, I felt a little lighter, like maybe I wasn't crazy after all. The next morning, I woke up with a headache, the kind that comes from too much thinking and not enough sleep. I was barely awake when my phone rang, and I could see Jim's name on the screen, the building manager. I answered it, hoping for something simple, something normal. Hey Mark, it's Jim. Just wanted to let you know. Sarah called a locksmith to change the locks. She says you lost your keys. I blinked, sitting up straight, confusion hitting me like a slap. What? My voice was rough, still groggy. I didn't lose my keys. I never gave her permission to change the locks. Jim was quiet for a second, probably taking me in. I understand that, but she said you did. She's already had it done, and I'm just passing along the info. I felt my jaw clench. I didn't authorize anything. You need to handle it, Jim. She has no right to do that. Jim sighed, the sound of him shifting papers or moving around on his end coming through the line. I'll take care of it. Don't worry, Mark. I'll make sure things are set right. I didn't want to keep talking, didn't want to say more than I had to. Thanks, I muttered before hanging up. The anger was starting to simmer in my chest. But before I could do anything, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Ella. Mark, what the hell are you doing? She snapped, not bothering with pleasantries. Sarah is freaking out. She says you're threatening her, that you've gone way too far with this whole thing. You're abusive. You know that? I felt the familiar heat rising in my face. Abusive? The word stung, but I wasn't about to back down. Ella, I'm not abusing her. I'm done with the games. I'm done with the lies. I'm done with her treating me like crap. You should have seen what she did last night. She's the one crossing the line, not me. Mark, you don't get it, she snapped, her voice tight with frustration. She's terrified. She's alone in the apartment, and you're just walking away. You're leaving her hanging, and you don't even care what happens to her. She's got anxiety, okay? She couldn't handle it when you left. You think she's manipulating you? She's not, she's just struggling. She needs you, and you're throwing it all away." Her words felt like they were pressing down on me, each one heavy with something I didn't have the energy to deal with. I took a breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm done, Ella. She's been manipulating me for months, and I've been letting it slide. I can't do it anymore. I can't keep bending over backward for someone who doesn't respect me." "You're being unreasonable," she shot back, like it was the simplest thing in the world. "You're just overreacting. You don't get to walk away from this and leave her alone to deal with everything. You have to fix this. Don't be a coward." I bit my lip, anger bubbling up again, but I wasn't going to yell. Not at her. "I'm not being a coward. I'm walking away because it's the only thing that makes sense. You don't know everything she's done to me. I can't fix this, Ella. It's broken. And I'm not coming back." There was a long pause on the other end. I could almost hear Ella struggling to find the words. Finally, she said, "I can't believe you're doing this. You're just going to let her crash and burn? After everything?" "Yeah," I said, the finality of it sinking in. "I am." I hung up before she could say anything else, my chest tight with a mix of relief and frustration. I wasn't going back. I was done. The next few hours dragged on in a blur of half-hearted attempts to figure out what came next. I wasn't surprised when I got another call from Jim. "Hey, Mark. I just wanted to let you know that Sarah's trying to get someone else to move in with her. A guy named Rick." My stomach dropped. "She's what?" "Yeah. She's telling everyone that she and Rick are now roommates," Jim said, his voice a little uncertain. "I don't know what's going on, but it seems strange. You might want to check in with her on that." I didn't have the energy to check in with her. "Thanks, Jim. Just keep me updated if anything else comes up." I hung up, the weight of everything pressing down on me. It felt like every step I took away from her just led to another problem. But I couldn't go back. Not to her. Not to the mess. She was already moving on, and I had to keep moving forward. As much as I wanted to forget all of this, the mess kept following me. I couldn't escape it, and I sure as hell wasn't going to let her drag me back in. A few days after I'd blocked Sarah's number, things started to get weird. At first, it was just little things. Texts from unknown numbers, all of them vague, like someone was trying to reach me through someone else. I should have ignored them, but I didn't. One of them turned out to be from Sarah's mom. The text was long, one of those heartfelt pleas. "Mark, I don't know what's going on, but Sarah's beside herself. She loves you, and she's been crying nonstop. Please, come to your senses. Don't do something you'll regret. You're breaking her heart." I stared at the screen, feeling the familiar stir of guilt, but I didn't let it move me. It wasn't guilt I was feeling. It was manipulation. I had been on the receiving end of this long enough to recognize it. I didn't respond, but the next text came, this time from Ella, who, of course, was still caught in the middle of it. She had a new twist to add. "You need to stop being so stubborn, Mark. She's told everyone that Rick is just a friend. He's gay, and that's why he's been staying over. He's not the problem. You're the problem. You need to stop overthinking things and come back to her before this goes too far." I laughed bitterly when I read it. Rick is gay. Yeah, that explained the deleted texts, the secrecy, the weird tension I'd been picking up for weeks. It was all coming together now. Sarah was spinning her story, and apparently, she thought I'd believe it. But I wasn't stupid. The whole thing stank, and no matter how much she tried to cover it up, I knew what was really going on. It wasn't just the texts that told me she was lying. It was the way she'd acted when I'd confronted her. The way she deleted the conversations. The way she couldn't even own up to anything. I was done. Then came the real kicker. I found out that Sarah had invited Rick to move into the apartment. She'd actually invited him. Couldn't believe it. It wasn't just that she was moving on. She was trying to cover up the fact that she'd been living with him while I was out of town. I had a friend from the building let me know that Rick had been coming and going for the last couple of days, and it was only getting more obvious. That was when I knew I had to act fast. I wasn't about to let her just take over without dealing with the mess she'd made. I called the utility companies, one by one, letting them know that I would be transferring the bills into her name once everything was settled. I didn't want her running up my account, and I needed everything in my name taken care of before she tried to pull anything else. Then I did what I knew was coming. I sent Sarah the formal notice to vacate the apartment. 30 days. She had 30 days to pack up and get out. Felt like the right thing to do. I'd given her more than enough chances to do things the right way, and now I was taking control. Less than an hour later, my phone rang. It was Sarah. I didn't even bother answering. I knew what she was going to say, and I didn't want to hear it. I had no more patience for her lies, her games. She left me a voicemail. I listened to it just for kicks. "Mark, you are out of your damn mind," she seethed, her voice shaking with rage. "How dare you send me this? You think you can just throw me out like I'm nothing? You don't get to do this to me. I've put up with so much from you, and this is how you repay me? Fine. You want to play it this way? We'll see who comes out on top." I stared at the screen, not sure if I was pissed or just exhausted. I'd heard it all before. The threats, the manipulation, the twisted logic that somehow always made her the victim. It wasn't going to work this time. Then came the neighbors. People I barely knew, but who had clearly heard enough to get involved. I got a message from one of them later that day. Someone named Jennifer, who lived a few doors down. "Hey, Mark. I just wanted to check in. We've been hearing a lot of noise from Sarah's place, and I know things are rough right now, but maybe you should rethink that eviction notice? It's causing a lot of tension, and it doesn't have to get this ugly. You're both really good people. Please don't let this tear you apart." I nearly dropped my phone. I didn't know what I was more annoyed at. The fact that people I barely knew were sticking their noses into my business, or that Jennifer was acting like Sarah's side mattered more than the truth. It didn't matter. Nothing would make me back down. I stared at the phone for a while, debating whether to reply. Then I realized, no, I was done. This was my life, my apartment, and I was taking it back. The drama, the guilt trips, the social media posts about me being the villain, that was all Sarah's mess. I wasn't cleaning it up. So, I didn't answer Jennifer, and I sure as hell didn't respond to Sarah. Instead, I focused on the next steps. Getting my stuff in order and making sure she stuck to the damn timeline. The ball was in my court now. It was her turn to figure out what came next. It didn't take long for the shit to hit the fan. Within hours of sending that eviction notice, my phone started blowing up. At first, it was just a couple of messages from people I didn't even know, mutual friends, acquaintances from social media. But then it got worse. A flood of texts from Sarah's side of things, all of them attacking me, accusing me of being a vindictive asshole, of financially abusing Sarah for throwing her out like this. I stared at my phone, jaw tight, trying to breathe through the anger building in my chest. One message was from her cousin, Jamie. "I can't believe you do this to her, Mark. She's devastated. You've really sunk this low." Then came a message from one of Sarah's coworkers, a guy named Todd, who I'd barely met a few times. "You need to come to your senses, man. What you're doing is abusive. You're making her homeless over nothing. You need to stop this." Abusive? I let out a breath, feeling my teeth grind. There it was again, the same shit they'd been feeding her. The same story she was trying to sell. I wasn't the one destroying anyone's life here. She was the one who dragged me into this mess. I wasn't the villain. She was the one who'd lied, deleted texts, and invited Rick to move in while I was gone. But they weren't hearing me. I scrolled through my phone, looking at the texts, the photos, the posts. Sarah was already posting about what a horrible person I was. There was a picture of the living room, completely stripped bare, with the caption, "He took everything, left me with nothing, heartbroken and alone. Please pray for me. I don't know how to survive this." It was like she was begging for sympathy, trying to paint me as the villain. The lies were thick. Felt like she was playing a game, and I was stuck in the middle of it. I shot a quick text to Ryan, hoping for some sanity. "You seeing this?" He replied almost immediately. "Yeah, man. It's all over her Facebook. People are eating it up. I know it's not true, but it's getting ugly." Ugly didn't even begin to cover it. But I wasn't about to let her drag me down with her. I focused on the next step, trying to block out the noise, but then Sarah posted again. This time, it was a cryptic photo. She and Rick were sitting on the couch together, their faces close but not quite touching. The caption was short, but loaded. "Sometimes you have to let go of what doesn't serve you." Rick is here to help me through the hard times. I stared at the photo, my mind racing. Help her? She was playing the victim card so hard it was ridiculous. And Rick, was still trying to paint this as some innocent, friendly situation. The guy was living in our apartment in my place. And now she was acting like nothing was wrong? I slammed my phone down on the table, the anger swirling like a storm in my chest. I was done with the games. She was trying to manipulate everyone, paint me as the bad guy, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I knew I had to take action, so I called a lawyer. I had to make sure I was legally protected. I couldn't just let her walk all over me, telling whatever story she wanted, and then expect me to sit back and take it. The lawyer was helpful, calm, methodical. He confirmed that I was within my rights to enforce the eviction and follow through with the notice. If Sarah tried anything else, anything at all, he'd help me fight it. When I hung up, I felt a little better, but the rage was still there, simmering under the surface. The lawyer gave me some peace of mind, but I knew the drama wasn't over. It was just starting. I spent the rest of the day ignoring the messages, the calls, and the posts. My friends backed me up, telling me I was doing the right thing. But even their words couldn't quiet the storm brewing inside me. I was so fucking tired of it all. Tired of her lies, tired of the accusations, tired of being dragged into this circus. But I couldn't back down. Not now. I pulled up Sarah's latest social media posts one more time and saw the message from her mom, pleading for me to come back and fix things. I shook my head. I'd given enough. I had given too much already. I had no idea what Sarah was going to do next, but I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to be her punching bag anymore. I was taking my life back, even if it meant going through the legal route to get it. And if I had to deal with a social media war in the process, so be it. The situation was beyond my control now. It was up to Sarah to figure out how far she was willing to push it. But I was done being the guy she used to play her games. I knew Sarah would be at work that morning, which gave me a narrow window to get my stuff out of the apartment. It was a cold, gray day, the kind that felt like everything was shifting under my feet. I hadn't slept much the night before. Too much anger, too much uncertainty. But I couldn't keep waiting. I had to get moving, literally and figuratively. I grabbed a couple of boxes from my car and headed into the apartment. The door clicked open, and the familiar smell of the place hit me. Coffee, some lingering scent of her perfume, but mostly just empty space now. The place felt different, quieter, less like home and more like something I was walking away from. I started with the easy stuff, the small appliances, my kitchen gear. The blender, the toaster, a bunch of coffee mugs I had collected over the months. Each item felt heavier than the last, like I was packing up pieces of a life that no longer made sense. I moved through the living room next, taking the TV off the stand and unplugging the gaming setup. It was methodical, efficient. I wasn't thinking about it too much, just doing what had to be done. But then, as I moved into the bedroom, I saw it. A men's watch. It sat on my nightstand like it belonged there. But it didn't. The face was sleek, dark, with a silver band, and it wasn't mine. I'd never seen it before in my life. I blinked, my stomach tightening, and then it clicked. It was the same watch Rick had been wearing in that Instagram story Sarah posted a few days ago. The one where she was all smiley and carefree with him, like they were already some big happy family. I took a photo of the watch with my phone, just to have proof even though I didn't need it. I already knew. The disgust rose in my chest, mixed with a weird sense of vindication. She thought she could pull this off without me noticing, but she had underestimated me. I wasn't some dumbass who'd just sit by and watch while she paraded this shit around. I wasn't the fool anymore. I set the watch down and walked away, focusing on the task at hand. The more I moved, the more the weight of everything hit me. This wasn't just an apartment, it was a place that had meant something, that had started as something real. And now it felt like I was just picking up the pieces of a broken dream, one box at a time. When I finished packing most of my stuff, I grabbed my phone. I'd been ignoring Sarah's calls all morning. She'd already left me a few voicemails, but I wasn't about to listen to any of them. I wasn't going to listen to her try to justify anything anymore. Instead, I opened a new message and typed out the final word on the situation. The lease is in my name, and you have 30 days to vacate. Please make sure you honor it. Don't contact me again unless it's about the move-out process. I hit send, my thumb hovering for a second. This was it. No more games. No more waiting. If she wanted to act like she was the victim, then fine. She could do that, but it wasn't going to change anything. She was going to leave. I locked my phone and turned back to the boxes, trying to focus on anything other than the angry thrum of my heartbeat. I could feel the tension building in the air, but there was no turning back now. The first wave hit as soon as I stepped outside. My phone buzzed nonstop, texts, voicemails, Instagram DMs. I didn't look at any of it, just kept moving, shoving the boxes into the back of my car. But the messages didn't stop. The first voicemail was from Sarah, her voice thick with tears. "Mark, please don't do this. Don't be like this. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to get this far, but you're ruining everything. You have to come back. You owe me this." I didn't respond. Then came the social media post. She must have been posting it while I was packing. It was a photo of her, sitting alone in the living room, empty boxes scattered around her, looking so damn defeated. The caption read, "Everything I've worked for, taken from me. I don't know how to get through this. I never imagined someone I loved could be so cruel. Mark, you've destroyed everything." It was an immediate gut punch. I could feel the weight of the words, but I didn't let it stop me. She was playing it up, trying to get people on her side, trying to paint me as the villain in this twisted drama. And people were buying it, comment after comment, like a wave crashing over me. "I can't believe he's doing this," one friend wrote. "You deserve so much better, Sarah," said another. I didn't look at any more of it. I just couldn't. Then, just as I was about to drive off, my phone buzzed again. Another post. This time it was Sarah with Rick, both of them smiling, looking cozy. She'd tagged him, of course, calling him her rock through all this. The caption was even worse than before. "Sometimes, the people who help you the most are the ones who step in when you need them the most. Rick is here for me. I couldn't make it through without him." The final straw. I could feel my blood pressure spike. I was done. I blocked her number and every social media account related to her. It wasn't that I was bitter. Well, maybe I was a little, but I couldn't keep letting her manipulate me through all this. I wasn't her punching bag anymore. I drove off, focusing on the road ahead, not looking back. The legal stuff was in place now. The eviction notice was final. She had 30 days and I was done with it. A few days after I'd blocked Sarah, the noise really started to pick up. It wasn't just her posts anymore. It was actions, things I couldn't ignore. I was getting calls, messages, and notices one after the other. It started with Jim, the building manager. He called me late one afternoon while I was at Ryan's place, trying to clear my head. His voice sounded more concerned than usual. "Hey, Mark, just wanted to give you a heads up. I saw a moving truck pull up to the apartment. Thought you might want to know." I froze. My stomach twisted. "What?" I asked a little too sharply. "What do you mean, a moving truck?" "Well, it's parked in front right now. Sarah's got movers in there. But it's strange, Mark. They're not taking anything out. They're bringing new furniture in." My mind started racing. New furniture? That was a red flag the size of a billboard. Sarah had already started the social media campaign, painting herself as the broken, abandoned woman, but now she was trying to rewrite the narrative literally. She was trying to make it look like she had been living there all along, like I just walked out and left her with nothing. "I didn't authorize any of that," I said, my voice tight. "I want to make sure no one's moving anything in without my say-so." Jim paused, clearly thinking. "Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll let you know if anything else happens." I thanked him and hung up, my heart pounding. I knew what she was doing, trying to play the system, trying to make it look like she had a right to stay in the apartment. I wasn't sure what the next move was, but I wasn't about to let her get away with it. The next morning, I woke up to a new batch of texts, this time from Sarah's friends and family. More accusations, more twisted truths. I scrolled through them, barely processing the words. One of Sarah's cousins called me vindictive for trying to ruin Sarah's life, and I felt that familiar burn of anger flare up in my chest. Her mom texted me, asking if I really had a heart, or had I lost it completely. They were all feeding into her bullshit, pretending I was the villain in this story. But then came a call from my lawyer. He was calm but serious. "Mark, I want to make sure you're documenting everything. Texts, emails, messages, everything. I know you've been keeping track, but it's important we have everything in case she pulls something else." I rubbed my face, exhaustion creeping in. "I've been keeping track, but I don't know what else to do. She's trying to move new stuff in like she's staying, and I don't know if she's planning to pull a fast one and claim squatters' rights or something." My lawyer was quiet for a beat before responding. "If she does that, you'll need proof she hasn't been living there. Make sure everything's documented and keep the ball rolling on the eviction. If she keeps pushing, we'll take it to court." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Got it. I'm not backing down." The phone call ended, and I sat there for a while, staring at my phone screen. The stress was like a weight pressing down on my chest, but I had to keep going. Sarah wasn't going to get away with this. Not on my watch. The calls from Sarah's family didn't stop. Her parents reached out a couple of times, trying to guilt-trip me into letting Sarah stay until she could find another place. They said she was destitute and helpless, and they knew I could be a good guy and let her stay for a few more weeks. I didn't even respond. I didn't need to. I was done being manipulated by them, too. They'd sided with her in everything, twisting the truth to fit whatever narrative she wanted. If Sarah wanted to pretend like I was the bad guy, let her. But I wasn't going to help her get what she wanted by being a doormat. It wasn't until later that week that I learned Sarah's next move. My neighbor, Jennifer, called to give me a heads up. "Hey, Mark," she said, her voice shaky like she wasn't sure if she should even be saying anything. "I think Sarah's trying to pull something. She and Rick have been telling people that they're still living in your apartment. They're saying she has squatters' rights, like she can't be kicked out or something." I sat up straight, a rush of cold dread sweeping over me. "What? Are you serious?" "I heard her talking to some friends about it," Jennifer said. "She's trying to play the system. I just thought you should know." I was livid. This was it, the line she was crossing. I couldn't let her get away with this. If she thought she could just pretend to be the tenant and claim squatters' rights, she was dead wrong. I grabbed my phone and immediately called my lawyer again. I filled him in, and his response was quick and no nonsense. "Mark will handle this. You have the eviction notice. That's your protection. If she's trying to pull this stunt, we'll take it to court. You have a clear record of what's been happening." I took a breath, relieved to hear that. The law was on my side, but I knew it wouldn't be easy. Sarah wasn't going to give up that easily, but I wasn't backing down either. As the days went by, it became clear that this was no longer just a breakup. This was a battle, a war over control, a war over the life I'd built. But I wasn't going to let her take anything else from me. Not my apartment, not my peace of mind, not my future. I was done playing nice. The phone call came late that night, too late to be anything good. It was Jim, the building manager. His voice was tense, like he was trying to keep things together. "Mark, you need to get over here. Sarah's throwing some kind of party in the apartment, and it's out of control." I didn't even wait for him to finish. "What kind of party?" "Well, she's calling it a goodbye party, but there's like 40 people here and it's loud. I've had several noise complaints. She's charging admission like it's some kind of fundraiser." I closed my eyes for a second, trying to keep the frustration from bubbling over. A fundraiser? For what? She's telling everyone it's to fight her unlawful eviction. I could feel my blood start to boil. This wasn't just some messy breakup anymore. This was a circus. "I'll be there in 10 minutes, I said, my voice already tight. When I got there, the noise hit me like a wall. The bass of the music thumped from the door, vibrating the sidewalk beneath my feet. There was a crowd gathered around the entrance. People I didn't know, yelling and laughing. A couple of them looked my way when I walked up, but they didn't seem to care much about who I was. I stepped inside, and the chaos hit me full force. The place was packed. People everywhere, spilling out into the hall. There were empty bottles on the floor, half-drunk drinks scattered around, and someone was standing on the couch shouting something I couldn't even hear over the music. It looked like Sarah had invited half the building. She spotted me almost immediately. Her face flashed with something. Maybe fear, maybe defiance, but she didn't flinch. She was standing by the kitchen, talking to Rick, who was hanging off her every word. She looked different, loud, almost too loud, like she was trying to make this big, dramatic statement. "Mark, you finally showed up," she shouted, grinning like this was all some big joke. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. "Sarah, what the hell do you think you're doing?" I yelled over the noise. Her smile faltered for a second, but she quickly recovered. "I'm not going anywhere, Mark. You can't just throw me out. This is my place too." I shook my head. "This is not your place anymore. The lease is in my name and you've been served. This party isn't going to change that." The music dropped for a second, and the room got uncomfortably quiet for a beat, like people were actually listening. Then, the door opened again, and someone else walked in, making a joke to break the tension. It was clear Sarah was trying to keep this whole thing spinning in her favor, but I wasn't buying it. But then it got worse. The police showed up. Someone must have called them. Probably the neighbors who'd been complaining nonstop about the noise. I was half relieved, half terrified. I didn't know how this was going to go down, but it wasn't looking good. When the officers walked in, Sarah immediately started arguing with them. She was all over the place, yelling about how they couldn't just come in and throw her out. She started in on her rights, talking about squatters' rights like she was an expert. One of the cops tried to reason with her, telling her she had to leave. But that's when it happened. Sarah lost it. I don't know if it was the stress, the alcohol, or just the last string snapping, but she stormed over to the side of the room and grabbed a lamp off the table. In one fluid motion, she whipped it at the wall, sending shards of glass everywhere. The cops didn't hesitate. They were on her in seconds, and the next thing I knew, they were cuffing her. She was screaming, her face red with rage. She fought them for a second, but it didn't matter. They had her. "Mark, she's being arrested for vandalism," one of the cops said, as Sarah was led out of the apartment, still shouting at the top of her lungs. "You might want to make sure you get a report filed on this." I nodded, still in shock. I couldn't believe what had just happened. It was like I was watching someone else's life fall apart right in front of me. Later that night, my lawyer called. He was on top of everything, as usual. "Mark, I got word about the arrest. This is actually good for your case. We've got evidence of Sarah's attempt to establish false residency, the destruction of property, and now the vandalism charge. I'll handle the paperwork and make sure it's all documented." I leaned back, exhaling deeply. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind, and this was the moment I realized I wasn't going to let her drag me down anymore. Over the next few days, the whole thing blew up. The arrest video went viral. People shared it left and right, commenting about her breakdown, about her trying to claim squatters' rights, about everything. Sarah's credibility was shot to hell. She'd been playing the victim, but the truth was all over social media now. The wreckage of her tantrum, the broken lamp, the wild-eyed rage. It was all there for anyone to see. It wasn't over yet, but I felt like I had one. The charges against Sarah were filed, and she was forced to pay restitution for the damage she caused. I didn't even have to do anything. Her actions spoke for themselves. The flood of messages and phone calls from her family and friends finally slowed down. It was like everyone had finally realized the truth. Sarah was on her own now. And me? I was finally starting to breathe again. I drove to the apartment one last time, knowing it was finally over. The police had cleared out, the social media storm had passed, and Sarah was no longer in my life. But as I stood in front of the building, the weight of everything that had happened hit me again. I wasn't sure what I expected, but the place looked different. The door creaked as I opened it, the smell of stale air hitting me first. Inside, it was a mess. The floor was littered with beer cans and broken glass, like Sarah had been too wrapped up in her own world to even clean up after herself. Furniture was rearranged in places I didn't recognize, some of it brand new, clearly part of her latest attempt to play the system. It looked like she'd tried to leave a trail of her own reality behind, like she could somehow make it look like she'd always been the one in control. It was sad, in a way. Sad that things had gotten so far, so twisted. But the anger I used to feel had faded. Now all I felt was relief. I went through the rooms, checking things off, knowing that soon enough, I wouldn't be tied to this place anymore. I wasn't going to spend another minute wondering how it all had come to this. Jim, the landlord, stopped by while I was packing up the last of my things. "You know, Mark, I've been thinking," he said, his voice softer than usual. "With everything that's gone on, I've got a new apartment opening up. It's on the top floor with a view. I can give you a discounted rate if you're interested." Caught me off guard. I wasn't sure what I had expected, but certainly not this. The place was nice. Clean, quiet. A world away from the chaos that had defined my life for the past few months. "I'll take it," I said without thinking. Felt right. I didn't want to linger on any of the bad memories anymore. I just wanted out. As I signed the paperwork and handed over the keys to the apartment I'd once shared with Sarah, a strange feeling washed over me. Freedom. Real, absolute freedom. The weight I'd been carrying around for so long was finally gone. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't worried about what Sarah was doing or who was on her side. It was done. The last couple of weeks had been a blur of legal meetings, police reports, and social media battles. But the truth always came out in the end, didn't it? Sarah's lies and manipulations had caught up with her, and now she was left to deal with the consequences. I didn't have to carry that weight anymore. She was gone from my life, and all that was left for me was the future. I spent the next few days packing up my things, organizing the mess of my life, and moving into the new place. The apartment was everything I needed, fresh start, no baggage, no drama. Sarah was a chapter in my life, a painful one, but one that had taught me something valuable. I'd learned to trust myself, to stand up for what I needed, and to never let anyone manipulate me into believing I wasn't enough. I was stronger now, more confident than I had been in years. The weight had lifted, and I knew, deep down, that I was moving forward. Sarah had disappeared from my life, and now it was time for me to do the same. I closed the door to the old apartment one last time, locked it, and walked away.